Access your free language gifts of the month right now. Here's what you're getting this month. First, the Making a Phone Call cheat sheet. Want to be able to talk on the phone in your target language? Then this conversation cheat sheet will help you do just that. You'll learn all the basic phrases, questions, and answers you'll need when making a call. Second, want to know the learning hacks, motivational tips, and success strategies for learning a language in 2020? Then you'll want this exclusive 52-page ebook. Download it now for free before we take it down. Third, words and phrases for the dentist. Learn how to schedule a checkup, talk about a toothache, and much more with this 1-minute vocab lesson. Fourth, can you talk about your zodiac sign? Then this next 1-minute lesson is for you if you want to learn. You'll learn how to say the 12 signs in your target language. Fifth, the 32 words you'll need for language learning. Noun, verb, adjective, sentence, grammar. Can you say these in your target language? If not, you'll want this quick 1-minute lesson. Sixth, free audiobooks for our members only. Unlock our huge library of language learning audiobooks. Save them to your device and listen and learn. They're yours to keep forever. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master the language with lessons by real teachers and our complete language learning program, take the 12-month challenge and get 12 months of Premium or Premium Plus at up to 45% off. So, to get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the description below. Download them right now before they expire.
Have you watched Chinese shows on Netflix? Hi, 大家好，我是李英如。Hi everyone, Yinru Li here. Watching movies and shows in Mandarin is definitely one of the best ways to immerse yourself in a Chinese-speaking environment and learn the most authentic and native Chinese expressions. If you're outside China, Chinese TV shows are still available on streaming sites such as Netflix. Here is my list of the best TV shows to learn Chinese with on Netflix. Before we start, I'd like to remind you of the different dialects in Chinese. If you type Chinese shows on Netflix, a large number of the shows will be Taiwanese shows, and the Mandarin spoken in these shows often has a Taiwanese accent. One main feature of the Taiwanese accent is that they tend to stress and drag the last syllable and put a lot more auxiliary words at the end of a sentence, such as la, ma, o. For example, to say hao, which means good or okay, people in Taiwan tend to say it like hao, hao la, hao ma. Therefore, the Taiwanese accent sounds more gentle and soft. But overall, Mandarin spoken in Taiwan is basically the same as the Mandarin spoken in mainland China. When you're ready to watch shows on Netflix, the very first step is to set the audio in Mandarin Chinese. Putting the subtitles in English is definitely helpful, but keep in mind that the translation sometimes is not word for word, and it may differ slightly. If you're confident, try turn off the subtitles for listening practice. Or if you'd like to practice reading Hanzi, the Chinese characters, switch the subtitles to simplified Chinese if it's an option. I also recommend having a notebook or a note-taking app on your phone available already, so you can take down the words and expressions that you found useful from the shows and try them out in real life. This method is a very important part for learning languages from shows and movies. The #1 Chinese show on Netflix on my list is called Day and Night. In Chinese, it's 白夜追凶, which literally means day and night chasing criminals. It is rated as one of the top suspense shows in mainland China of all times. This crime show is about a genius detective who has the weakness of fearing the dark and how he solves murder cases with his identical twin brother who is a fugitive by switching out identities at night. In the meantime, They're collecting evidence to prove that the fugitive brother is innocent. This story will absolutely keep your attention and make you want to watch one episode after another. Language-wise, a lot of the characters in this show do speak with a Beijing dialect, which involves a lot of 儿化音, meaning adding the sound after a lot of words. For example, they say 小周, the name of the detective's assistant, as 小周. So 小周 is the regular one, and 小周 is the one with the 儿化音. And 快点 means hurry up. With the 儿化音, it sounds like 快点儿, 快点, 快点儿. This is the typical feature of a Beijing dialect. Unlike other dialects in China, almost everybody, will understand the Beijing dialect without any problem because Mandarin, which is the standard dialect in Chinese, is based on the Beijing dialect. So if you're going to spend time in Beijing, watching this show will get you familiar with how people talk there. Another action thriller on Netflix in Chinese Mandarin is called Chosen, which is the remake of the show, American show Chosen, that came out in 2013. 杀无赦 is the Chinese name for the remake, which loosely translates to kill all, 杀无赦. The setting of this show is in Sydney, Australia, so 1/3 of the show is in English. The story starts with a surgeon receiving a gun and a picture of a stranger, along with the instructions to kill the stranger in the picture. With occasional English lines in the show and the story that might be familiar to you, this show may be easy for you to follow. And the Mandarin spoken in this show is very clear and very standard, well, except for the leading actor who speaks Mandarin with a tiny little bit Taiwanese accent. If you're into comedies, especially teen comedies, this one is for you. The English title is a literal translation of the Chinese, Take My Brother Away, 快把我哥带走. This comedy series is about the life of a high school girl and his brother. I recommend this show for 2 reasons. First, the Mandarin spoken in this show is very standard and clear. Second, this show is about the everyday life of a high school girl and his brother, so you can find a lot of useful phrases for your own purposes. Next, 文字派对, word party. Although this one is made for young children, there is nothing wrong watching it and learning Chinese from it. Originally, this show is in English, and the audio and subtitles are available on Netflix in Chinese Mandarin and other few languages. The voice actors do speak with some Taiwanese accent, but it is still a great show to learn Chinese from, especially for those of you who have just started learning Chinese. This show is made for babies and toddlers to learn how to talk. So each episode introduces a group of vocabulary words such as vehicles, colors, senses, and feelings. It would also be a great choice for you to introduce Chinese as a new language to your own little ones at home. Interjections are words and phrases that are used to express comprehension and to show feelings and emotions. Interjections in English includes words like wow, ew, oops, gosh, and so on. In Chinese, there are quite a few words and phrases like these as well. They are very expressive, and you don't have to be totally fluent in Chinese to be able to use them, but they sure do make you sound very native. In this lesson, you will learn some of the most commonly used interjection phrases in Chinese. 什么？天哪，不会吧？真的吗？太好了，讨厌，烦死了，吓死我了。
First one, 什么？什么？什么？什么 means what. It can be used to ask someone to repeat what they said, or it can be used to express surprise. 什么? When your friend calls you the last minute and tells you that he can't make it to your birthday party, you can say to him, 什么？你不来了? What? You're not coming? 什么？你不来了? Your next one, 天哪！天哪！天哪！天哪！天哪 is another interjection to show surprise. It is the equivalent of oh my gosh in English. 天 means sky or heaven. 那 is a particle that is attached to the end of a word or a phrase to show strong emotions. 天哪. So imagine you're shopping at a luxury store. You see something really nice and you pick it up, you check the price, and of course the price is outrageous. In this case, you may say, 天哪，这么贵. Oh my gosh, it's so expensive. 天哪，这么贵. 不会吧？不会吧？不会吧? It literally means it can't be possible, but it's often translated as no way. This is another interjection to show surprise. 不会吧? Compared to 天哪, oh my gosh, we just mentioned, 不会吧 emphasizes on the skepticism or disappointment, while 天哪 focuses more on the emotion of being shocked. Say your brother tells you that he doesn't know who Brad Pitt is. You can tell him, 不会吧，你不知道布拉德皮特? No way you don't know Brad Pitt? Did you notice the Chinese translation for Brad Pitt? 布拉德皮特. So each consonant in the English pronunciation becomes a syllable in Chinese with intonation. So together, 不会吧，你不知道布拉德皮特。真的吗？真的吗？真的吗 means really. It is said to make sure something is true. It's often a response with excitement. 真的吗? For example, your cousin is getting married. You are a little surprised by this news, but you're so happy for her. So you can say to her, 真的吗？恭喜恭喜. Really? Congratulations. 真的吗？恭喜恭喜. 太好了，太好了，太好了，太好了 literally means too good, but it's often translated as great or awesome. It is also used to respond to something exciting. 太好了. When you step on a scale and find that you have lost weight, which is what you wanted, you can say, 太好了，我瘦了. It's great, I lost weight. 太好了，我瘦了。讨厌，讨厌，讨厌。讨厌 literally means to hate or annoying, but the connotation and tone in Chinese is not as strong. It is used when annoyed by someone's behavior or comment. But keep in mind, 1. 讨厌 is often used by girls. And 2. When girls say 讨厌, chances are they mean the very opposite, meaning they are actually liking what you said or did, but they're too embarrassed to admit it. So guys, I know girls are hard to figure out, but if you're not sure what the girl means by saying 讨厌, see if she is smiling. If she is, you're probably safe. 烦死了 literally means to annoy to death. You could be 烦死了 by a situation or a person. For example, every time you visit your parents, they ask about when you're bringing home a boyfriend. And in this case, you may say to them, 你们别问了，烦死了. Meaning, you guys stop asking, it's so annoying. 你们别问了，烦死了. Even though the word 死 meaning to be dead or death is almost a taboo in Chinese, it is still a very frequently used word in everyday language in order to show the extreme degree of a certain emotion or action. Here are some more interjections with the word 死. 吓死我了. It literally means to be scared to death, but it's more like I got so scared. 吓死我了. 笑死我了. Pay attention, it's 笑, not 吓. 笑 to laugh. 笑死我了 means I'm laughing so hard I'm gonna die. 笑死我了. And 气死我了. 气 to get mad or angry. 气死我了. I'm so mad I'm gonna die. And 累死我了. 累 means to get tired. 累死我了. I'm so tired I'm gonna die. Now let's do a quick review. Between 什么 and 天哪, which one is more close to the English expression, oh my gosh? 天哪, 天哪. And between the expression 不会吧 and 真的吗, which one implies excitement? 真的吗? 真的吗? Between 讨厌 and 烦死了, which one is more used by girls and could mean the very opposite? 讨厌 讨厌. Okay, between 笑死我了 and 吓死我了, which one would you use when a wild cat jumps on you from nowhere while you're walking alone at night? 吓死我了. 吓死我了. Can you say sorry in Chinese? We all make mistakes, but we can make up for them by saying the right thing. Let's learn how to apologize in Chinese because there are a lot of ways. 对不起, 抱歉, 不好意思, 都怪我, 别生气, 我向你道歉. These are the magic words and phrases that can smooth over any conflicts and misunderstandings. In this lesson, you will learn all about these apologies. Number 1, 对不起. This is the most standard and proper way to say sorry. 对不起, 对不起. Well, however, 对不起 is more than just feeling sorry. It is a very serious apology and it implies that you are sincerely asking for someone's forgiveness. So 对不起 can be a pretty strong apology. For example, you can say 对不起 when you break something at your friend's house. 对不起. Another common way to say sorry is 抱歉, 抱歉. Well, the differences between 抱歉 and the first one, 对不起 is 1. 抱歉 is a little bit lighter than 对不起. And 2. 抱歉 is used when the person who's apologizing might not have caused the trouble but is still feeling sorry for the convenience. For example, you may have heard this in an airport announcement. 我们很抱歉地通知您. We're sorry to inform you that 我们很抱歉地通知您. Next, 不好意思，不好意思。Compare with the last two apology phrases, 抱歉 and 对不起。不好意思 is more casual. It is used to say sorry when things are not as severe or as damaging. But it is still a courtesy phrase and it is used frequently in everyday life. 不好意思 literally means to be embarrassed. 不好意思。不好意思 is also used before you have to ask someone a question or before you have to interrupt or bother someone. In this case, 不好意思 is considered the equivalent of the English excuse me. Amy is exploring Shanghai, but she can't find the subway station. She asks a stranger where the subway station is. The lady apologizes as she doesn't know either. Pay attention to the two circumstances where 不好意思 is used. The first one is used before you ask someone a question, and the second one is used to apologize. 不好意思，请问地铁站在哪里？不好意思啊，我也不知道。不好意思，请问地铁站在哪里？不好意思啊，我也不知道。The three apology phrases we mentioned above, 对不起，抱歉，不好意思, are often used with intensifiers before them. For example, a commonly used one is 真, which is an adverb meaning really. So we often say, I'm really sorry by saying 真对不起，真抱歉，真不好意思。Another frequently used intensifier is 实在, meaning truly. 实在 So, 实在对不起，实在抱歉，实在不好意思 I'm truly sorry. In addition to the standard apology phrases we mentioned above, you will also need something to take the blame. Here is a common one that is used often in a casual situation. 都怪我，都怪我。It means it's all my fault. 都 means all. 都 and 怪 means to blame. 怪 and 我 is me. 我 together. 都怪我 is all my fault. 都怪我。One possible scenario for this phrase to be used in China is that when the parent is mad at the child for doing something wrong, and the grandparent steps in and takes the blame by saying 都怪我，都怪我，是我没看好她。It's all my fault. I wasn't watching her. 都怪我，是我没看好她。Another phrase used to admit your mistake and try to calm the other person down is 别生气，别生气。It means don't be mad. 别 means don't. 别生气 means to be mad or angry. 生气 together. 别生气. It is also used in most of the time in close relationships. Xiaowu has been waiting for her boyfriend in a cafe for more than 30 minutes. Finally, the boyfriend Yang Hao shows up. Of course, he owes her an apology. Let's watch and see what Yang Hao has to say. 实在对不起啊，路上堵车。你别生气，都怪我。实在对不起啊，路上堵车。你别生气，都怪我。Did you get what Yang Hao said? He apologized and explained that he was stuck in traffic. Then he asked Xiaowu to stop being angry and admitted that he was wrong. While the last phrase is a formal way to apologize. 我向你道歉。我向你道歉。我 means I. 我 and 向你 means to you. 向你 and 道歉 is a verb meaning to apologize. 道歉 Together, I apologize to you or my apology to you. You can use this in a face-to-face conversation when you're formally apologizing to someone, or you can use it in a written apology. It's time to recap what we have learned in this lesson. Imagine you're shopping for shoes. The sales lady returns with an apology that they don't have your size. As it's not necessarily her fault, so is 对不起 or 抱歉 more suitable? Right. In this case, 抱歉 is more suitable. 抱歉，没有您的码了。Sorry, we don't have your size. 抱歉，没有您的码了。She spoke so fast you couldn't catch what she said. What would be the appropriate phrase to use before you ask her to repeat what she said? 不好意思 or 抱歉。不好意思 is more common in this case. 不好意思，请再说一遍。Sorry, please say that again. 不好意思，请再说一遍。Now you arrive at your parents' place, and you just realize you forgot to pick up some groceries your mother asked you to get. Without that, she can't make 饺子 dumplings for lunch. You apologize to her and say, "It's all my fault. Don't get mad." In Chinese, it is 都怪我，别生气。都怪我，别生气。
Alright, let's get started. 我想去。I'd like to go to. 我想去。I'd like to go to. 我想去。我想去。附近有自动取款机吗？ Is your ATM nearby? 附近有自动取款机吗？ Is your ATM nearby? 附近有自动取款机吗？附近有自动取款机吗？请跟我讲讲。Please tell me about. 请跟我讲讲。Please tell me about. 请跟我讲讲。请跟我讲讲。你很有品味。You have good taste. 你很有品味。You have good taste. 你很有品味。你很有品味。你下周六有时间吗？ Do you have time next Saturday? 你下周六有时间吗？ Do you have time next Saturday? 你下周六有时间吗？你下周六有时间吗？我迟到了，是因为公交车没来。I am late because the bus did not show up. 我迟到了，是因为公交车没来。I am late because the bus did not show up. 我迟到了，是因为公交车没来。我迟到了，是因为公交车没来。请保持安静。Please keep quiet. 请保持安静。Please keep quiet. 请保持安静。请保持安静。你有问题吗？ Do you have a question? 你有问题吗？ Do you have a question? 你有问题吗？你有问题吗？我不太舒服，可以请一天假吗？ I don't feel well. Can I be excused for the day? 我不太舒服，可以请一天假吗？ I don't feel well. Can I be excused for the day? 我不太舒服，可以请一天假吗？我不太舒服，可以请一天假吗？有什么推荐吗
What do you recommend? 有什么推荐吗？ What do you recommend? 有什么推荐吗？有什么推荐吗？这个菜里有没有？ Does this dish contain any? 这个菜里有没有？ Does this dish contain any? 这个菜里有没有？这个菜里有没有？我不吃，喝。I don't eat, drink. 我不吃，喝。I don't eat, drink. 我不吃，喝。我不吃，喝。我喜欢。I like. 我喜欢。I like. 我喜欢。我喜欢。天气怎么样？ How's the weather? 天气怎么样？ How's the weather? 天气怎么样？天气怎么样？我丢了我的物品。I lost my item. 我丢了我的物品。I lost my item. 我丢了我的物品。我丢了我的物品。我可以坐这里吗？ Can I sit here? 我可以坐这里吗？ Can I sit here? 我可以坐这里吗？我可以坐这里吗？你们有没有？ Do you have? 你们有没有？ Do you have? 你们有没有？你们有没有？我在找。I'm looking for a, the. 我在找。I'm looking for a, the. 我在找。我在找。我的电子邮箱地址是。My email address is. 我的电子邮箱地址是。My email address is. 我的电子邮箱地址是。我的电子邮箱地址是。你是做什么的？ What do you do? 你是做什么的？ What do you do? 你是做什么的？你是做什么的？我去了电影院。I went to the cinema. 我去了电影院。I went to the cinema. 我去了电影院。我去了电影院。请进。Please come in. 请进。Please come in. 请进。请进。我最喜欢的歌手是。My favorite singer is. 我最喜欢的歌手是。My favorite singer is. 我最喜欢的歌手是。我最喜欢的歌手是。你喜欢什么类型的音乐？ What kind of music do you like? 你喜欢什么类型的音乐？ What kind of music do you like? 你喜欢什么类型的音乐？你喜欢什么类型的音乐？生日快乐 Happy birthday. 生日快乐 Happy birthday. 生日快乐生日快乐。
How to improve your language and speak more through preparation. Do you think it's possible to speak more of your target language by preparing lines ahead of time? Today you're going to learn 1. Why you should prepare for conversations ahead of time, and 2. How you can prepare for conversations in your target language. If you've always wanted to speak more of your target language but didn't know how, this tactic will give you more to talk about. how to improve your language and speak more through preparation. Okay, let's get into part 1, why you should prepare for conversations ahead of time. If you're a beginner, you can probably relate to this. When it comes to speaking, you tend to run out of things to say. And that's because you don't know enough of the language to express yourself. And that's where preparation comes in. You may think that the conversations we have in our daily lives are spontaneous, that you can't prepare for them. You're right to an extent. But imagine meeting someone for the first time. Both of you will go through some common questions and phrases, like, what's your name? My name is, where are you from? And how long have you been studying the language? As a language learner, you'll have these kinds of conversations with almost every native you meet, guaranteed. They'll always ask you about how long and how you've been learning. And even with your friends, some conversations start the same way. For example, you say things like, hey, how are you? How are things? How was your weekend? My weekend was good, and you? Let's say you went to a restaurant this weekend, and now you want to talk about it. Well, that allows you to prepare and learn some phrases like, I went to a restaurant. The restaurant had delicious food. The point is, some questions and phrases come up often in conversations, so it makes total sense to master them ahead of time. And you can always plan ahead and prepare for things you want to talk about. When it comes time to speak, you know what to say, how to respond, and you don't run out of talking points as quickly. So, how do you prepare? Let's jump into part 2. The first thing you can do to prepare is check out our 25 questions you need to know lesson series. This series is specifically designed to help you with the first-time conversations you'll have with native speakers. You'll learn the 25 most common questions and answers used in conversations. Just listen to the lessons, repeat out loud, then put what you learned to use. These will serve as talking points so you can keep your conversations going. Number 2, print out the curriculum for this lesson series so you can review all of the lessons at once. The curriculum gives you the lines and vocabulary used in all lessons up front, so you can use this to review key questions and responses. This will allow you to control conversations and ask questions instead of just having the native speaker ask you all the questions. In other words, you'll sound like a fluid, confident, and experienced speaker. Number 3, check out our printable conversation cheat sheets. This is another free resource that gives you lines and words for all kinds of topics. For example, talking about hobbies, your family, and much more. Number 4, ask yourself, what do you want to talk about? Come up with some topics, and for each topic, write out potential questions and phrases that would come up in a conversation. For example, if you want to talk about restaurants, you can have lines like, my favorite restaurant is, my favorite food is, what's your favorite restaurant? And then run these lines through a translation app. It won't be perfect, but it'll give you lines to use that you can correct later. Number 5, look for lessons that are related to your topics with our lesson library. On our site, we have hundreds of lessons that teach you conversations. So if you're looking for lessons related to restaurants and food, you'll get all kinds of conversations that you can use for yourself. And number 6, if you're a Premium Plus user, get in touch with your teacher via My Teacher and try a conversation with them. They'll help you every step of the way, correct your writing, and give you the lines to use in a conversation. That way, you can prepare ahead of time, and when it comes time to speak, you'll know what to say. All right, everyone, here's a challenge for you. Yes, everyone watching this. Record a 30-second to 1-minute video or audio clip. Tell us, what's your language learning goal for 2020? If you do, you'll win a 1-month Premium Plus subscription. To submit, click on the link in the description. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Then fill out the form. Attach the audio or video file and press submit. We may feature you in next month's episode, so a lot of learners will see you and your progress and will hopefully get inspired to improve and master the language. To submit a recording, click the link in the description and follow the instructions on the page. So thank you for watching this episode of Monthly Review. Next time, we'll talk about how to start conversations, talking points for language learners. Most people don't like to hear this, but consistent, hard work is one of the biggest factors in your language learning success. The course or method you choose makes a difference too, but at the end of the day, you ride or die by the work you put in. The quantity of time spent studying language doesn't necessarily determine the quality of your study. Spending 3 hours a day watching movies doesn't help you learn much if you're not actively engaging with the language. In this video, we'll talk about 3 ways to actively engage your mind while studying a new language. Number 1. Think of your brain as a muscle. You're probably familiar with the phrase, feel the burn, or maybe no pain, no gain. If you've been to your local gym recently, there's a chance you might have heard one of these phrases or seen them plastered on a wall. There's an idea in the world of sports and workouts that the discomfort you feel when running, pumping iron, or doing some other physical activity is what brings results. During a healthy workout, the muscles of the body are affected at a microscopic level. The discomfort you feel is your muscles being pushed to their limit. It's the limit pushing that strengthens your muscles so that over time, your performance increases. In the context of language learning, it's helpful to think of your brain as a muscle. Just as we need to push our physical limits when exercising, we also need to push our mental limits when learning a foreign language. Have you ever studied or practiced your target language in a way that left you tired or even exhausted? If so, you've experienced what it's like to push your brain out of its linguistic comfort zone. Number 2, practice active listening. One of the easiest ways to push your language skills is to practice active listening. Active listening is when you listen to someone speaking your target language and you do your best to understand what you hear. The best way to accomplish this is by using audio that you can't completely understand on the first listen. Preferably, you want to use audio that has subtitles or transcripts for you to double-check your understanding after you listen to it. You can use movies, YouTube clips, or even our language program, which has very useful transcripts for each lesson. During a practice session, you should listen to the audio several times. The first time around, it's okay if little to no words stick out to you. Simply make a mental note of any words or sounds you recognize. The second time you listen, you're likely to recognize a little more than you did the previous time. Expect similar results with your third or even fourth time listening. After you've hit the ceiling of words you can decipher, go ahead and look at the language subtitles or transcripts. Listen to the audio again, reading along with the text. Odds are that you will see words in the text you know but didn't hear correctly. You're also likely to encounter words that are new to you completely. As you play back the audio and read along, try to guess what these words mean from the context of the words around them. After you've read along a couple times, feel free to look up the remaining unfamiliar words in a dictionary or translator app. This active listening exercise routine is a great way to increase your listening and comprehension skills while picking up some new vocabulary along the way. It also allows you to learn new words in context, which itself is a powerful method to help you retain what you study. Number 3. Practicing with native speakers. Practicing with native speakers is the epitome of pushing your language skills. Using what you know to communicate in real time is where the rubber really meets the road. Try to connect with a native speaker on a weekly basis. Regularity is what makes the difference when you're learning a foreign language. If you live in a large metropolitan area, then there's a significant chance that there are some local native speakers nearby. Try hitting up a local language exchange or meetup group to make the necessary connections. If you're unable to find a practice partner locally, then you can take your search online. There are a number of sites out there that help you find and connect with other language learners from around the world. There are tons of language learners around the world who have learned or are learning a second language. You're likely to find someone who knows your target language and is looking to improve their own language skills as well. Learning a new language isn't always easy, but it's the discomfort that comes with pushing your ability in the language that produces results in your studies. Don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. The further away you get from your native language, the closer you'll be to attaining fluency. Also remember that language learning is in every way a lot like an adventure. There will be fun times and times when it feels like you're swimming up the proverbial stream. It's by keeping your head up long enough through these ups and downs that you will experience the priceless satisfaction that comes from learning a foreign language. Just keep moving forward. Let's be honest, it's difficult to learn a new language. If you're new to a language, it's going to take consistent and concentrated effort to start using the language fluently. However, this fact shouldn't discourage you. While learning a new language is hard, it's far from impossible. In this video, we'll outline 5 tips you can use to jumpstart your language learning. Follow these pointers to learn your target language in a way that is efficient and effective. Number 1. Limit your native language use when practicing. The idea here is that when you practice with native speakers, you do your best to refrain from using your native language. This is generally harder the less you know, but if you can manage to stick to this rule, you'll reap some huge rewards. If you commit to a no native language practice session, it's not going to be easy. Most likely, there will be some frustrating, if not painstakingly difficult moments where you either have trouble understanding the person you're talking to or you can't say what you want to say. It's precisely in these moments that your language learning muscles are built up to capacity. The process really isn't all that different from working out in the gym. Just replace the physical burn of lifting weights for the mental burn of thinking in a new language. In the end, if there's no pain, there's no gain. Obviously, this no native language rule doesn't have to be written in stone. There are times when it's more beneficial to break out of the target language box and have something explained to you in your native language. However, this should definitely be the exception rather than the standard. Number 2, have set times to practice speaking throughout the week. Now that we've discussed a good way to practice speaking, let's delve a bit into when to speak. One of the best commitments you can keep while learning a new language is to set aside specific times to practice speaking the language on a weekly basis. Ideally, these speaking sessions are on set days at specific times and form part of your weekly routine. If you don't make it a point to set aside specific practice times, you run the risk of your language practice falling through the cracks of your busy schedule. I recommend writing down your practice times and hanging it somewhere you can always see it. You could also input the times into your phone and set an alarm. The point is to remind yourself of your commitment every day so that it doesn't fall by the wayside. Number 3, get picky about vocabulary. Whether you practice with a podcast, a friend at a coffee shop, or a teacher, you're going to run into a flood of new and unfamiliar vocabulary. Despite your best efforts, it's unlikely that you'll be able to pin down every new word or phrase you hear and study it later. Thus, you should pick and choose which new words you focus on. The defining quality of each new word you learn should be its practicality. The more useful a word or phrase is to you in a conversation, the more important it is that you learn it. Don't feel like you have to cram the entirety of your target language into 1 week of study. Take it one step at a time. A few practical words here, some more there. Before you know it, you'll see your vocabulary improve. Number 4, write and practice short monologues. This tip can be a lot of fun. Begin by selecting a topic you enjoy discussing. Then, simply write out a short monologue or speech on the subject in your target language. The first thing you'll notice while doing this will likely be the holes in your grammar and vocabulary. But when you try to write out your thoughts in a foreign language, you might inevitably hit roadblocks. You might not be able to think of a word or know how to formulate a specific idea or opinion yet. This can be great because these holes are the exact areas where you should focus your studies. You can bring up these problem areas in your next lesson or browse through your favorite language course or textbook in order to find the answer. The constant process of finding these language holes and filling them is what keeps you moving along the path to fluency. Once you finish your short text, it's a great idea to practice reciting it or even memorizing it. The memorization will help you internalize the new grammar and vocabulary you've learned. Reciting it will get your tongue and mouth used to the sounds. Number 5, keep an up-to-date list on what you want to learn. Throughout your studies, you should always have a sort of language shopping list. As you practice and study, you will most likely come across things you'd like to be able to say, but don't know how to yet, especially if you follow our previous tip. Write this wish list down. It's one thing to learn the vocabulary you pick up via a course or podcast, both of which are great. It's a bit different when your vocabulary gets personal. Learn the words that matter to you, either because they're practical or because you simply find them interesting. The more relevant the vocabulary, the more likely you are to retain it. Some people might tell you it's impossible to learn a new language for whatever reason, but it's important to remember that the way you study and engage with a language greatly affects how quickly or effectively you learn it. Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.